Bless you. This is awful to try to sort this out. The directions Talia gave me didn't, the right window doesn't show up, so I'll have to get some help. Appreciate you coming on here. Let's see if we can get everybody here. So Mark, can you, I guess, promote all of those folks?
Sorry, Patrick, I was connected to a different speaker, so I can hear you now. I couldn't until now, though.
Okay, well, I said thank you. Really appreciate your help. Yeah, if you can help me here a little bit, if you can promote all those people that are attendees, Carol, Ed, and Eileen.
Sure. So do you want me to help you?
Just get this started. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So Patrick, if you just, so you can do it after I jump off the meeting, if you just click on participants.
Okay.
And you'll see two separate lists, panelists and attendees.
I gotcha.
Hover over one of the names.
Okay.
Then click on more.
Click on more.
And it will give you an option to promote to panelists.
That didn't work. See, I'm on an iPad right now, so it didn't highlight when I.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and promote everyone, and I will.
Okay.
Get you squared away.
Thank you.
Eileen Mooney has an invitation to be promoted. She must just not be choosing to be promoted.
Okay, that's okay. And let's see here. We don't have a quorum yet. We need one more.
Are you able to see attendees on your end?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So as panelists, everyone can use their camera and their mics freely.
Okay, we're short one. Lauren's on a meeting for the statute committee, but she's supposed to check in. And Chris is in New York. Chris is not coming. He's in New York. So we're just waiting for Ruby at this point. Let me see if
hello, everyone.
Who's there?
Eileen.
Oh, hi, Eileen.
Saying
hi.
Hello.
We're promoting you to the big time now, partially because
had I known this, I would have brushed my hair and turned on my camera. Instead, I'm eating dinner.
Okay, let me just I'm gonna dial up Lauren to make sure she comes on. Okay, we'll see if Lauren responds to that. Okay, I've just texted Lauren and again, Chris is not coming. He's in New York. And I'm not sure where Ruby is. So 5:35 now. So we're kind of in a holding pattern for a bit.
Maybe I can ask a question while we're waiting.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just reviewing the minutes because I just got them to print out from the May meeting. And under the treasurer's report, it says out-of-state fees are up. What are out-of-state fees? Are you,
That's
you're
what-
treasurer, Margaret, right?
Right, but I don't know the answer to that.
Those are fees just that are collected from out-of-state visitors.
How
To-
can
to
they,
use a lot
how do
of-
we collect fees from, you mean overdue books or?
No,
I mean,
no,
visitors don't pay fees.
no. It's if they want a library card, and Ed's on too. He could correct me if I'm wrong. But if they want to use our facilities and they get a card, they pay an out-of-state fee.
Oh, so if they're out of state, they have to pay for our library card?
Yes,
Yes,
as far as I know.
Oh,
Yes,
do you know what
that's
it is? Do you know how much they have to pay, Ed?
no.
Oh, that's good to know, because there are a lot of people that come in from the outlying areas to the library.
Yeah,
When you
you
look
see
at
it-
you look at the attendance figures for Housatonic and Great Barrington, you realize there's lots of people coming from other towns to Great Barrington, so that's good to know. I didn't realize that.
I've noticed it in the parking lot at Mason. It's surprising how many New York State plates
So
there
they
are.
pay a yearly fee, Ed, for a library card or a one-time fee? Do you know?
That's a good question.
Sorry, yeah. I know, I think it's yearly.
Cool.
That's probably a quick question to Donna.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have somebody else showing up here. Let's see who that is. Okay, is that Lauren? Are you there?
That may be Eileen calling in from her phone.
Okay, that's Mark. Did you say? Oh, Talia's on.
Just promoted Talia, so she should be joining us.
Okay. And so she's on the phone.
No, there's someone also calling in from a phone line, and I was suggesting that maybe that's Eileen also calling in.
Ah. Is that? Because Lauren was going to probably call in.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and open that mic then.
Let's see who that is. Yeah.
Lauren, is that you calling in? Your mic is open. If so, it's just off on your end.
Okay, so Lauren's signing on, so she's here. Terrific. All right, Lauren, welcome aboard. We have a quorum now. It's 5:39. We have to do a roll call here. Lauren, can you announce that you're here?
It'd be
You're mute.
star six from a phone to unmute yourself.
We'll come back to Lauren. Carol,
Present.
right, Carol, present. Margaret,
Here,
okay, here. I'm here, Pat Hollenbeck, and Lauren. Lauren, if you hit star six, that will unmute you.
Her mic is open now.
It is open, okay.
Yeah, I can see it on the side.
Okay, Lauren, can you just announce that you're here? Hmm. Not sure. Anybody have any idea what we do at this point? I think
There's-
she's here.
There's someone, Lauren's coming in also on Zoom right now, so
Okay, great.
I'm guessing this phone is not Lauren.
Yeah, there's Lauren.
Lauren, you have an invite on your end to join us as a panelist. You just have to accept it. There you go.
Okay,
You on, Lauren?
yeah.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you. All right, we have a quorum
Again, oh,
right now.
there I am. Okay.
We have a quorum.
Good.
Just, let's, if we can just go out of order on the agenda here so we can make up for some lost time here. Ed, are you in a rush tonight?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So let's just skip to the Friends report. We'll do with library news with Mark here, next steps, and we'll go back and approve the minutes at the end here. So, Ed, why don't you go ahead? Friends
It's
report.
very quick, and this is probably gonna be the same report for the rest of the summer, which is the chairs are popular. Somebody added to the chairs in Housatonic. I don't know who, but that was you?
Yeah. it
I
was
saw
me.
those. I was
It
wondering.
looks great.
Well, it was an experiment. You know, I had access to those and I didn't want to buy something if it was not going to look good, but it turned out to look great and people.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you,
driving-
Patrick.
I love driving past and see people sitting outside of Ramsdale. It's wonderful.
Are people are doing that? That's good. They're all.
Yeah, no, these people, yeah, I've seen people sit out there and read the newspaper and some people are just chatting. Yeah, it's perfect.
And frequently they're in front of the Mason also. We've been pushing books out on weekends when it isn't raining. It's generally this time of year, people take a lot of books, leave a little bit of money. As the tourists come, they leave more money. So that picks up around the 4th of July, but people love it. There are always people at the book rack, so that's great.
Yeah, I
Um,
always see people driving through town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. That's all we got.
Thank you. Hey, Ed, one question for you. Deb Coffin's family was going to donate all of her massive collection of books. Did they do that yet?
What family?
Deb Kaufman.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah. Great
Terrific.
books. They were really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they were. So I'm glad that came through then. Okay, excellent. Thanks. Let's just, and that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, that's it.
Okay, and I just have to say, I'm not home. I'm at a cocktail board meeting at someone else's house and there's wine. So I'm just saying. I'm gonna drink my wine.
Well, Ed's an official bartender, so it's probably okay since he's here.
It's
Let's just jump.
it's the Du Bois statue board. So anyway.
We're going to jump right in now because Mark is here and he's had a long week too. So, Mark, why don't you take over here and
Oh,
tell
is
us?
he here? Oh, there he is.
Mark is here. Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me this evening, and I'm assuming you'd like to hear an update on our library director position. So the good news is that Talia and Donna stepped up to the plate and have been serving as co-interim library directors during this transitional period. So thank you to both of them. I see Talia's on the line this evening. Things have been going really well during this transitional period. And we do have the position posted. We have it posted on our town website. We have it posted on our Facebook account and on our Instagram account. We have it posted on the Board of Library Commissioners website. We have it posted on the Massachusetts Municipal Association website. And we'll also be posting it on diversity.com by the end of the week, so by tomorrow. So trying to cast as wide a net as possible. I did boost the salary range up a little bit just to try to capture, in hopes of capturing a few more qualified applicants. And the deadline for applications is June 30th. That's our priority deadline, but we have been in recent times, I would say the past year or so, keeping positions open until they're filled so that we don't have to re-advertise if we don't find quality candidates in the first round. So fingers crossed, we'll get a good pool of candidates, and I'd love to have one of you at least join me in those interviews when the time comes.
And I had a couple of follow-ups. It was probably in our minutes anyway, that I had told the board I was going to contact the library commissioners for just best procedures for something like this. They wrote right back. I gave it to Mark, so we're in good shape on all that. And per Lauren's suggestion last time, that Margaret was really most qualified to be a part of this process, because she's her life experience is in library. Margaret, do you have anything to add to that? Are you interested in serving? Actually, I didn't really.
Yes, I'll be grateful to have a part,
Great.
and
Thank you.
happy to meet ahead with whoever is, or chat ahead with whomever is in the interviewing group.
Well, that's Mark's. He's the captain of the ship.
So if I could thank you, Margaret. I would love to connect with you at some point soon to develop a list of questions for candidates. And just wanted to clarify the reason that I would like to do it, with one or two members versus having a committee. What I have found in this day and age, in this hiring climate, is if we take our time, we will lose candidates, and I'd rather keep this as efficient as possible. So I'd like to get around appointing a committee, making committee decisions. I think just to streamline the process, it would be best to have the trustees represented, but run a really efficient interview and hiring process so that we can get this position filled as soon as possible.
Sure.
Well, we can filter our ideas through Margaret anyway. So that sounds like a good, efficient way to do it.
Great.
Yeah, appreciate that. Mark, on the Du Bois acquisition, I guess we'll call it the gift. We haven't really discussed that as trustees, and you may have more information than I do at this point. But the news, which you probably heard, and it's amazing news, is that Randy has gifted the town with a very large collection of his Du Bois archives, letters, memorabilia. And the idea is that there'll be a Du Bois Center housed at Mason. And, it's just in the preliminary stages of doing things. But that's I think it's a huge moment for the town and the library, because if the statue comes to fruition and this is happening, it's all happening at the same time. It's like evolution here taking place. So that's wonderful. And Mark, is there anything that you any new news that we have on that?
No,
share?
the only thing I have to share this evening, you're aware that the select board did accept the donation. So going forward now, I wanted to wait and get through town meeting, which we are now, of course, as of Monday. So I have a meeting with Randy, Natalia, and Gwendolyn and Donna I think it's next Wednesday morning. We're going to meet at the library, at the Mason Library, in the local history room, and just start to develop a plan. So we're very, very early on in the planning stages. So at this point, the only thing I can say is that we've accepted the donation, and we're having our first conversation next week to move things forward.
Great.
Can I just mention something? Randy has expressed to me that he would like for there to be some amount of covered, like glass front shelving. And is that something that who's going to make that happen? Did you talk about that with him at all?
I did. I met with Randy Tuesday morning, and I connected him with Stephen Larkin, who is our buildings and grounds foreman. Randy had two asks. He did mention some kind of protection, some glass. He also mentioned a security system. And unfortunately, when we developed our fiscal 22 and 23 budgets, we had no idea that this was coming. So we did not include any funding for this. So that's going to be the challenge we have to overcome. I know Randy would like the collection protected, but we're going to have to be creative in how we do that, because I just don't have any funding unless there's some available funding in the library budget. And I'm just not familiar enough with that budget to commit to that at this point.
So if there isn't, can it get onto, budget planning for 2024 in case we can't get it to happen sooner than that?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the reality is that funding wouldn't be available for 13 months.
Okay, well, it could be something in case it can't happen sooner.
Right. And one thing I did suggest to Randy is that we could try to figure out some solutions to bridge the gap. And by that, I mean, instead of installing a commercial security system on day one, that perhaps we could consider some kind of residential system that may only cost a few $100s just to keep an eye on the collection overnight and things like that. So I think we can find solutions that will get us to fiscal 24.
I have a fabulous $35 nanny cam that's attached to my phone for my dog. And I set it up when I'm not going to be home for hours.
There are some,
and it works great.
yeah,
So
there
just
are
saying,
some great
there are things
residential
out there
options.
like that.
Lauren, I thought you were going to suggest we put your dog in the room overnight. But
Oh, right. Nah.
no, okay, too bad. Well, that's actually tremendous. Anybody else have any thoughts on this while Mark's here with us?
Yes, it is standard in libraries, it has been for a while, that a donor has to provide some funding for their collection. 'Cause in the old days, libraries accepted everything, and there was this huge backlog of stuff nobody could look at because it had never been processed or cataloged. And they finally decided that has to stop. And donors are at least asked if to please give some support so that their collection can be accessed and cared for. I don't know if that happened or not, but
Yeah, I don't know either, but I don't know if it's been asked, but I can sort of tell you the answer.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
but-
they then have to understand the complications that that will arise.
Yeah. Right.
Well, Randy still does, he still has a 501c3, and I spoke to him about this before, so maybe he doesn't have the time, but somebody under that guise could write grants for
Right,
this.
or just simply raise,
Yeah, I
private
think
money.
I think that's entirely possible, whether it be Mass Cultural Council has money set aside for this, probably the Historic Society at the Commonwealth does. There's, for this particular thing, this should be an easy ask. I mean, this is a one-of-a-kind situation. But yeah,
Right.
that's one of the things we'll have to do it. I spoke to a couple other librarians. They thought it was unbelievable. They thought it was a massive monumental undertaking. And the first thing they said is, boy, you're going to have to hire somebody just to really do this, catalog this and do it right. But I think that's through grants, we'll have to kind of, to do this right, we're going to need some money to make sure it happens. So at least there's a 501c3 in place right now, that's something Randy could help us with.
Well, I was going to
hopefully.
say, I mean, the question then is who's going to put the time into, making use of that 501c and finding the funding. Is that going to be on Randy, since he's not necessarily going to personally be able to put money into this? Should he be considered the person, well, okay, you gave this to us, but you need to put in the time to raise the funds? Or is the library is somebody from the library or the town going to offer to do that? I don't know who
well,
has the time.
I think nobody has the time, but I think that, like Liana Toscanini with the Berkshire Nonprofit Center, is an amazing resource. And I've heard that some people have gotten interns as college projects to write grants. And the beauty of the internet is somebody up in Williamstown had somebody at the University of Michigan writing a grant for them. It's just so the way the web is now, we should be able to, for this particular project, God, I think it's going to be an easy ask. I mean, this is a huge, huge thing. So we're just going to have to put everybody's heads together and just get moving. But Liana's right on Railroad Street, so
Right.
you know, she could help.
Presumably, Randy had some way himself, some finding aids to access the collection. So the collection probably comes with some kind of description and access, I hope.
And there also might be connections through UMass and Simon's Rock, because UMass has an interest in a collection, I believe, or professorship or whatever. And Simon's Rock has a collection, so maybe there's student interns that could be involved.
Interesting. Okay, that's a great idea.
I think the UMass might be more, you know, might be very enthusiastic. I don't have the connection, but I know Gwendolyn and Randy would, because they do have a Du Bois collection there, don't they?
Yes.
Yes.
So they may just have a student library science student or an intern that might want to come out, or a Simon's Rock person.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a
It looked like Talia-
co-collaboration.
It looked like Talia wanted to say something.
Yeah, I've written a proposal which I know Patrick has seen. I'm going to send a copy to Margaret as well, just because it's her subject matter expertise with the archive background. And I know Mark has also taken a look at it. I have some experience with grant writing, and I'm not volunteering to write these grants. I want to make that clear. I'm kind of busy right now. But I can tell you that people are going to look on grants that propose partnerships much more favorably than they're going to look on grant applications that are just saying, give us money for one thing. And yes, there's UMass and there's Simon's Rock, but there's also, we shouldn't forget, many other Du Bois centers and Du Bois organizations in Great Barrington, and that it's going to look a lot better if these are sort of a collaborative application rather than just the one thing. And I am also just going to apologize if I'm a little vague. Today's my first full day back at work after being really sick. So if I'm a little out of it, just ask me to repeat myself. But anyway, I just did want to say that anything collaborative is better than not. It's going to get much more money, and actually more pots of money will open up if you're writing a grant as a collaborative effort.
So are you referring to the Clinton restoration and the Du Bois statue? Those are two other things going on in town right now with Du Bois.
Yes, and the Du Bois River Walk. Much of this is actually tied into UMass Amherst.
Right.
A couple of years ago, I was very involved in the early stages of the Clinton Church Restoration Project, and also a bunch of meetings about the home site, which is now part of the National Park Service, or partially funded by the National Park Service. And I know a bunch of the people who are involved at UMass. And yeah, there is absolutely a Du Bois Center and a Du Bois Library there at UMass, with much better than we can currently provide archival materials, climate control, space,
Right.
all of that. So I just think that we should be very clear about trying to do as much collaboratively as possible and not trying to force one tiny public library to do something when the mission of other very local organizations might be able to help out as well, with some of the more valuable pieces, especially.
Okay.
Thanks, Talia. That's very, very helpful. And we hope you feel better soon.
Oh, I'm coming along. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Anyone else on the subject from Mark?
Yeah, I was wondering if we had approached the multicultural bridge and see if they have a great interest in this and see if they could offer some support.
Well, Gwen is very involved with Randy with all things Du Bois already. So I think there's support there.
She'll be in
But do you need,
attendance.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry, what's that?
She'll be in attendance at the meeting on Wednesday morning as well.
Yeah.
My other question is climate control, is that we don't have a HVAC system of any sort in the library right now. So I don't see how we could even contemplate having such a collection if there's no climate control.
I don't think that there's climate control where the collection now resides.
Well, there's no air circulation in the library, from what I understand. Is that correct?
There is a window air conditioner in the local history room. There's a window unit in there during the summer. Randy is aware that one of our 2 HVAC units is down at the moment. That is out to bid, and we hope to get that replaced soon. But in the meantime, we have to rely on the one window unit in that room. So there's a little bit of air circulation and humidity control. It's not ideal, but there's something there.
Yeah, and again, it's moving from a space that is not any better or worse than that.
And I think also we're just not certain when all this move will happen, Mark, right? It's probably not till August, end of August, after Labor Day.
No idea. We haven't
Yeah,
even met for the first time yet. So I think that will be part of the conversation on Wednesday.
okay, good. Mark, the only other subject that came up, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was more concerned about humidity. It's not just cool air, but it's actually the humidity in the room needs to be controlled as well. And that goes for summer and winter. You know, you're going to have mold on any of the sheets of paper, as you all know. There's no way of getting it out. So, you know, I think that's forefront. Is how do we make sure that the collection is kept pristine?
So Talia, are you still here? Talia?
I am. Yes.
So you work in the library all the time.
Yep.
And that room that the collection will be going into, the history room, have there ever been any issues with the historical materials that reside there now?
So there are 2 different spaces that we're talking about.
Okay.
And until we have the meeting on Wednesday morning, I'm not actually sure which space we're going to be discussing in any detail, but there's the local history room, which is the one where you've had meetings in the past.
Mhm.
And then off of that is the archive room.
Okay.
The local history room has a lot more space. I mean, the things on the shelves are packed, but there's more air circulation there. And we have had fans in there for the last couple of years. So the air is moving around. And we have not had any concerns about the books that are on those shelves at this time. However, the vast majority of those books are not historical documents. The ones that are old and historic are in the archive room, which is much smaller, is designed to, well, because it is closed and locked, which it has to be for security reasons, there's no air circulation in there at all. It is very, very close. The air is very heavy. And we are actually quite concerned about what's going about that space. I haven't gone in and taken every single item off the shelves, mainly because we want to wait until there is some climate control so that maybe things can sort of come back to baseline. So we don't just take books off the shelves and cause more of an issue. And we don't have any other place to put them, so we couldn't sort of spread them out. So
Well, okay, so I find that
But we
really
are- but we
interesting
are
that
concerned.
it's almost like opposite world.
I'm sorry.
It's almost like opposite world. It's like the things that are the most precious, that are under lock and key, are the ones that are in the space that is less conducive to its occupants.
Yes, because that space was designed to have climate control and with a working HVAC. And when
Okay,
the
so
HVAC,
it's only since the HVAC hasn't been working that has
yes,
become.
it's not designed. The room itself is custom designed as an archive space, and when
Wow.
the HVAC is working, then it is a custom designed, fully functional, controlled climate.
Okay. All right, so, okay, I hope we get that HVAC system back soon, because that sounds like a bit of a nightmare.
Well, we should check on portable units,
Okay.
because there's certainly just portable units, even temporarily, that could be used. And even like when people with pianos that need to be climate controlled, they have them in a large closet or something at Tanglewood, for example, and there's just a machine in there that's just taking care of that space. So
Okay.
this is a great conversation, because obviously we have never contemplated any of this.
Right.
And maybe we can find something to do that, or maybe we can delay moving the stuff in until we have something worked out. The other possibility is with this thing called Digital Commonwealth, which is basically a government program. There may be some stuff that's, he's got some first edition of things, and some things that may be priceless that can be digitized for free, but by the government. And it's a program run out of Boston Public Library, and they would take the things, and I think it goes to the military base that's in Natick there, the research facility. They have these humongous, these high-tech scanners. And so it's a massive government program to digitize as much as possible. So then it's accessible to the world. And if something, God forbid, happens to the original, that it's saved for all time. So maybe some of that stuff could go towards that first before it goes into our facility. So it's just another possibility of.
Well, and if we're not going to get this stuff till the end of the summer, I'm sorry, Mark, what was the timeline again on the HVAC?
I still don't have a timeline. It's back out to bid. This time around, this is the second round of bids for the HVAC unit, for the second HVAC
No.
at the library. We did reach out to a few vendors to try to encourage them to bid. We didn't receive any bids the first time around. So I'm hopeful that we'll be successful in round two, but until the bids are received and open, we don't really have a timeline. We'd have to sign a contract that would include a timeline.
Okay.
It's doubtful that it will happen for this summer season. I can't imagine. Everything is so hard to schedule and getting equipment quickly now. I mean, we're all seeing this at home too, right? Same challenges, getting contractors and parts.
I see it in my business.
Next to impossible. But we are trying our best to move it along as soon as we can.
Okay.
Has anybody called the Stockbridge Library? I believe they're set to have brand new HVAC system set up. Do you know who their vendors are?
Didn't even know they were.
I actually had a meeting with the curator of the Stockbridge Museum and Archives. That was a meeting actually that Randy set up and done, and I went to it. And their HVAC installation has been delayed until after January. So
Wow.
their vendor isn't going to move any faster for us.
Wow.
One of the first steps in such a thing is to have a survey done by an archivist or a preservation archivist or a regular archivist who surveys the collection and then gives a good summary of its needs. And I'd be happy to do that in an unofficial capacity. I mean, I understand from the Berkshire Eagle article, it's about 500 books, but it wasn't clear to me how much is archival rather than published material. But anyway, I'd be happy to take a look at it somehow and get a better understanding of its needs.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
I can put you and Randy in touch. Randy's actually in the other room, in the other meeting that I'm in. Which is kind of funny. And he's my next door neighbor. at
Right,
our
yeah,
business.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
find a way to put you two together. That'd be great.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Margaret. That's great. I think the only other thing I can think of is that we spent a little bit of time, Mark, talking about the accessibility, the ramp for Ramsdale, and we probably haven't discussed that at the board level much at all, but we're just trying to figure out next steps. And there was quite a few comments about changes that people thought needed to be considered for that. So where are we stepwise with that?
Stepwise, our architects made a presentation publicly to the select board. I think some of you were in attendance that evening. We'd be happy to hear your feedback. If you want to send something along, we'll pass it on to our architectural team. Other than that, we did seek funding Monday night for the project, included in our capital budget. So once we finalize the plan and design, we'll be moving that out to bid as well. So just remember that we have a long list of projects. So I don't think it's gonna happen too soon, but it is on our list of projects that we'd like to get finalized and out to bid.
Okay, thank you.
Who's going to be the finalizers? The select board?
I think the select board will ultimately make the decision, but not without an invite to the trustees. Just like last time, we'll invite you to let you know that we're having this conversation, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
Okay, well, because we did discuss it among ourselves a little bit last meeting, right?
Well,
So should we
we
get
mentioned
together
Marcus.
and formalize our
Yeah.
our thoughts on it?
Yeah, so
and-
at our
and
next
get them
meeting,
to
we'll
you?
we'll put stuff on paper in our next meeting.
That sounds great.
I just have a question around ADA compliance. Since Mason has handicap accessibility, does that sort of give us a grace period for not having it at the second library?
It's been a very long grace period.
It is, but I'm just wondering legally, if someone lives in the town of Great Barrington and says, I want to go to the library and it's not handicap accessible, are we covered legally by saying, yes, we provide handicap accessibility at the Mason Library? Even if we don't at Housatonic? That's my question.
I'm not.
If I become disabled and I normally go to the Ramsdale Library, I can no longer access it. Would legally we say, well, you live in the town of Great Barrington, we can provide access to you at the Mason Library?
To the best of my knowledge, we are not under any pressure code-wise to make Ramsdale accessible until we renovate the building.
That
This is
was my thought. That way, that you know, as
Right,
much as it's desirable,
It's desirable, and that's the
but it's
reason.
not legally, we're not out of compliance ADA wise at this point.
Correct.
And is that because we have compliance at Mason?
No, that's because I believe it's, don't quote me on this, but I believe that the threshold is 33% of the value of the building. So if we propose 34% of the value of that building in improvements in any fashion, that would trigger the need for ADA compliance.
But is it kind of like a grandfather thing in that if
It
there's no
is.
building improvement and it's an elderly
Right.
building,
Yes,
then
Correct.
it doesn't have to be handicap accessible? Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me.
So it's unrelated to the accessibility at Mason, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, thanks.
And also, Carol, they allow accommodations, like, for example, if somebody was could not gain access to Ramsdale, but they wanted to take the books out, they wanted to read a newspaper or something like that, the staff can actually, it's okay to actually bring it out to somebody
Mhm,
and they can take
right.
it home, for example. So they still have access to, it's just a different way, and there's these accommodations made
Yeah.
in that that's that situation. Same thing with, let's say if you had a program in Ramsdale and was live, and there again, there wasn't accessibility to the building. If it's available on video or online, the same thing live, then that counts too. So it's just, it's set up so that as long as people have equal access to it, there's a lot of leeway in it. And that's, yeah, it's a complicated subject.
And if Patrick, if you don't mind, before you move on from this topic, if I could just mention one thing to the trustees, as you start to develop your feedback on this project, just be mindful of the fact that right-hand side of the property where the retaining wall is, we were very intentional with that portion of the project to make sure that we retained access to the rear portion of Ramsdale. So we're trying not to encroach on that stretch of land between the church and the library, so that we're not required then to get an easement from the church to have access to the rear portion of the property. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I think, Mark, thank you for your time. I mean, obviously we have a little bit more to do tonight, but appreciate you coming. You can welcome to stay, but if I were you, I'd get out.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. I'm just gonna, before I sign off, just make sure that you're still assigned as host, Patrick, so that I don't kill the meeting.
Okay, that's
when
a
I leave.
good question.
I'll be sure to do that before I leave.
Okay, great.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And Talia, you don't have to participate, but everybody, there was a library life that you got sent from Donna. Everybody received that?
Mm-hmm.
And Donna and Talia worked that out. Was just traditionally for you new folks. That's kind of the format that Amanda worked in. I should tell you one thing about Ramsdale, which has been good. You know, Deb Kaufman had these get-togethers every Tuesday called iWow, where people would come in and they could read poetry, or they could read anything, or they could play their guitar or whatever. Really great thing she did for years. And so we've been doing that in Ramsdale now since I guess since February it started. And there was one the other night. And they're really interesting. There's about 25 people come in. It was after hours. So what we did was I got the key and let it, library closed at 6, and people came in to help set this up at 6:30. But that space is so wonderful at night. It's just magic in that building after hours. It just is. It's really great. These people were from all over the place. One was an author who just did something for Audible. They come from all over. Some of them were coming in from New York State, but really a fascinating group, really interesting. So that's just a really great use of that space, actually. And that's kind of what, when we had the library report done by Rob, that was what he was saying too. That it's such a great space, and it's totally different than Mason. So these buildings are really, they complement each other. And he said they don't have to duplicate anything. They should just be very separate situations. So, but if you saw this thing on a Tuesday night, it's really fantastic.
Right.
I
It's
didn't know that
the
was
first
going
Tuesday
on.
of each month, I think.
First Tuesday of each month, yeah. And
Right.
eventually they may move back into Deb's space because there's a real estate transaction going on. But at this point, it's been in Ramsdale on first Tuesday of the month. Starts at 7. It's really great. If somebody else had a question
I
there?
must have gotten taken off that list because I used to get the emails.
Yeah, I think they just have kind of rejuvenated all that.
Okay, yeah, because I
So-
didn't know that was going on. That's nice. That's great.
Yeah, one thing that was amazing is Jenny Clark came in with a piece of glass, and she put on a jazz recording, and she did the self-portrait on the glass, and it was
Oh, that's
done,
neat.
the music was done.
That's great.
Really great.
Huh.
And this was for the first time, it was actually videoed for a community access TV. So somewhere this will be on. I'll try to find out when. But it's really interesting, really great. Let's see here. Buildings
Did
and
you get my
grounds.
text?
No. What did you say? You can tell me what you said? Wait a sec, where's my phone?
Who are we missing tonight? Just Chris?
Just Chris, yeah. So,
Okay.
so a quorum, by the way, is 4. So we have a
Okay.
quorum. So if you've got to get back to the other meeting, then that's.
Yeah, so that's, I'm just kind of wondering if
Yeah,
if
no,
we're
that's
not
okay.
voting on something that's important. I'm glad I
No,
was here for that whole
No,
other.
we have, no, we've got to make a decision on the hotspots at some point, but not tonight. That can wait till the next meeting. So the hotspots are really critical, and Donna and Talia have spent a lot of time on this too. So we're going to have to start paying for those. They were paid for by the government during COVID. And there's a much cheaper one than the one we have now. The expensive one that has been free was T-Mobile. And I think the only question is, in Housatonic, the coverage is so lousy. It's actually really pretty good with that current thing. So I guess we have to see if we can borrow a unit of the competing brand there and see if it's going to work. Because there's no sense in getting something for Ramsdale. It's not going to work
Right.
before we sign any kind of contract. So that's I think what I can tell you on that. I've been in touch with the library commissioners a little bit, and I'm going to suggest to them, they had a pilot for small libraries, and Otis was in the running for this too. But what they've done is the funding is 75% of what they're paying for a renovation of a small library.
Wow.
First time they just did it was this past year, which is incredible, actually. So I want to see if Ramsdale, under the current qualifications, we still
Pat,
would
so,
meet.
but if you don't need me for a vote,
Okay.
I'm
back-
gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm
we need you at
sorry.
the other meeting.
I know.
Yeah,
I'll catch
tell
up
them-
with you.
Tell them
I'm
we all
sorry.
send our
Okay.
back. Yeah, take care.
Too fully booked.
There you go.
All
That's
right.
all right.
Bye, everybody.
It's still library business.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
I
Laurie.
think, so that's the next step, to see if there's going to be some special funding we can get, because Ramsdale's going to need it's a lot of money. I mean, I can't even imagine the escalation cost of construction of what we need to do.
I have a question that maybe Talia can answer around that. So when you're referring to hotspots, that's when the library's not open. I mean, when it's open, they can go in and use a laptop in the library. Do you have any idea about usage, Talia, how you gauge usage both at Ramsdale and GB? Does anyone have an eye on that, for who's actually using it? Is there a way to monitor that?
Who is using it? I don't think we're tracking that at the moment. We do have numbers on their circulation, but I don't have those numbers in front of me. The way Donna and I divided it was, she did the numbers and I did the writing.
I'm just wondering if there's a gap because we're having a problem with the vendor and, the cost of it. If it's going to be a hardship for a certain amount of people, like that's what I'm trying to gauge. Is,
Right.
I'll tell
are
you,
there people really highly dependent on it? And if not, does that, again, speaking of grace periods, does that give us a little wiggle room to take time to price out and see who we can get?
Well, we have these, I believe this program is through September. So we do have some time to figure it out beforehand. I think, I'm trying to remember which library has already decided that they're going to go with Beacon Mobile or Mobile Beacon.
Yeah, I have that in front of me here. It was Marlboro, and on the director's report, it said that the price was astronomical.
To go with T-Mobile.
Yeah.
And she basically said that we should stay with Beacon Mobile, or we should go with Beacon Mobile because
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess we need to just see if it works. I mean, I've actually had to take it out myself. My internet went down at home, the modem or something just conked out, and I had so much to do online. And boy, all of a sudden, when the computer doesn't work, you know what that feels like. So I went down and checked it out, and immediately I just took it home, turned it on. The sheet of what to do was so simple, and it worked better than my home system. So really great. I know some people have taken them out if they've gone on camping trips where they just don't have any connectivity, and it's worked for that. It's worked for people that have gone on trips and they want to keep their kids busy in the car, and the internet works. So these things are pretty sensational. In Chicago, in the inner city, which is hard to believe they have trouble with connectivity, they do. And so Google had paid for for how old the kids were, but that every kid in Chicago in the inner city got one free through the library for a year. They'd sign it out, and they had it the entire year. So these things are really, really good. And Housatonic is an area that really needs these things, because I think these are better than for some people in certain neighborhoods where they're having a hard time with their internet. These things are fantastic. So that's just something we have to kind of sort out. But I think if we can get a hold of Mobile Beacon, is the other company, if they can send us one just on spec so we can make sure that it works in Housatonic, that would be the only thing. And the price seems quite a bit, it's low. There's that organization called TechSoup, which is a nonprofit that provides software and some hardware at cost, actually, to a nonprofit situation. So it's a deal you couldn't get as a consumer. But anyway, that's actually really good. And I think that's all I can think of. If anybody else has any questions or any concerns. But Talia, thanks for coming, especially because you're getting over COVID. We really, really appreciate the connection to the staff.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm saying goodbye because I have another meeting.
Yeah. Any questions, Eileen?
No, I will have when I think about this, but I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Eileen.
So if it's unless anybody else has any other comments, it's 6:27, and I guess we can adjourn. Is there anybody else have any thoughts?
So we'll approve the minutes next month?
Yeah, I think so, because right now, yeah, we might as well have Chris, who wrote them, and Lauren on board for that.
Right.
And Margaret, thanks for stepping up on two different things here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
There's no
really,
treasurer's report then?
well, let me see. Well, we do.
There's a treasurer's report on the agenda. Is there?
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Did they help you with that?
Yeah,
Margaret,
I asked about it, and I think the bottom line is there isn't any official treasurer's report. While Talia and Donna are undertaking so much new work, but things are on track.
Yeah.
And that's about all I can say.
I think there's less chaos than I thought there would be in this transition, but instantly they've got state aid reports that have to be worked on, that are due. So, and neither one of them worked on any of that material before. So I know Donna is kind of taking care of some of the numbers on this stuff, and it's really a massive project. And, I mean, Amanda always hated this part of it. It's just a lot of work, a lot of data that has to be collected. So I think that's what it was. So I
All right, I'll follow up with them more.
Yeah, so I think July is when we're kind of officially going to be able to start, because we'll at least be past this hump and we know where things are at with the search and everything else. So I think we're going to be in good shape by next month for sure. So I think that's it, and
would like to say to Margaret, sorry, we didn't mean to sort of blow you off yesterday. We're trying to get the whole year-end stuff together, because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that, and we haven't put the numbers into the charts that we would then give you, because we're still learning how to do.
Oh, you didn't blow me off at all.
Okay.
So I didn't mean to imply that.
No, I didn't think you had. I just wanted to make sure you knew. We do know what we have to give you.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Haven't yet, but we will. We will.
Yeah, no worries, Talia.
Great.
We know
Yeah,
this is
thank
really
you.
tough on you guys, this transition. So anyway, like I said, I think we're in really good shape, all things considered right now.
And
So
I
I
want
guess
to
that's-
commend Talia and the other staff, because I just started to volunteer there. I want to commend them for the extraordinary job that they're doing in the transition. It's not easy when a director leaves for everyone else to have to step up, and they're doing great. So thank you, Talia, and everyone else.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
As Talia mentioned, this is actually probably the worst month of the year for all this to happen, because it's when the numbers have to be done for
Fiscal.
fiscal year and everything else. So it couldn't be at a worse time. And then Talia's had COVID. So it's just, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? Anyway, and on that note, everybody stay healthy. Talia, get better fast. And thank Donna for all of us too, since she's not here to see
I'll
that.
specifically thank her, and I will also send a thank you to the whole staff. Just
Yeah, please do.
on
We
behalf.
appreciate everything. And I think that's it that I can think of. So let's, we'll call it a day here. It's exactly 6:30. So everybody, just take care of yourselves and see you soon.
Yep.
You
Thank
too.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.